Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, Ril Gerald Quinn. Recording this a day late. This podcast will be recorded on a Wednesday. I will actually have it released out on a Wednesday as well. So, day late, but certainly we have a lot to talk about on episode 1025, Dodger Blue. As always, you can find this podcast where all podcasts are available and also on my YouTube channel. We begin with the NFL game of the week. This wasn't a classic, but interesting to say the least. The Buffalo Bills, for the fifth time in the last 6 years, defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season, 28-21. Um, the Bills controlled this game. The Bills clearly were the better team on this evening, um, this afternoon, leading into the evening. They flat out outplayed Kansas City from the line of scrimmage, outgained them by 100 yards. Josh Allen was spectacular. Patrick Mahomes had his worst statistical day as far as completion percentage. Under I think he's under 50% for the first time in his career, which is just shows you how consistent that this guy has been during over the duration of his career. Um, and the Bills defense finally, for really the first time this year, stepped up to the plate in a major way. They knocked around Mahomes, 15 quarterback hits. Outside of Josh Allen, I thought Joey Bosa was the best player on the field. He was dominant. Five quarterback hits, a sack. He looked like vintage Joey Bosa. And people listen, Bosa, when Bosa's been healthy and when he's on the field, he could be an absolute game changer. The problem with Joey Bosa is he has had a problem staying on the field. So I know that the Buffalo Bills are certainly trying to monitor his his reps, trying to monitor how they use him to keep him fresh for the playoffs. But that guy can be a game changer, especially on third downs, when pass rush situations. He still can get to the quarterback, and he flat out had one of his best games in about 4 or 5 years. That was a joy. That was all Pro Bowl Joey Bosa that you saw on Sunday, and to me, he frankly was the difference in the game. Um, but saying all that, without the scary thing, if you're a Bills fan, and the Bills had to win this game. The Bills have this from a psychological standpoint, from a standpoint of guaranteeing that if they meet again, the game will be in Buffalo. The Bills cannot beat Kansas City in Kansas City. They still in the playoffs. They still have yet to prove that they can beat Kansas City anywhere. But the Bills just would not beat Kansas City in Kansas City. So if the Bills to have any chance against Kansas City, that game would have to be in Buffalo. I say all that to say that despite how dominant Buffalo was over the course of that game at times, despite the statistical advantages they had, despite the fact that they outrushed Kansas City 141-79, despite the fact that Mahomes was mediocre, despite the fact that the Bills won the turnover battle, Kansas City still had the ball with a chance to tie the game. So what that tells you is the room for error for Buffalo when they play Kansas City is razor thin. They literally almost have to play a perfect game to beat Kansas City. Now, we could debate whether or not McDermott should have attempted that field goal when your kicker has had a calf issue coming into the game, and I believe it was a missed. How much was that field goal? Was about 40. I want to say that was like a 49-yard attempt. Listen, Prater is a great kicker, has been a great kicker, has made more 50-yard field goals than anybody in NFL history. But again, he came in the game with a bad calf. And yeah, that was a 52. So yeah, 52. Listen, listen, you trust Prater. We know that he's been a great kicker, but 52 yards, bad calf. If you punt the ball, you make him go down the field, go down 80 yards with no timeouts, and they have to score a touchdown. So that certainly was a questionable decision for McDermott. But the most important thing is Buffalo gets the win. Um, I think that again, I can't put too much into this game based off the past history with these teams. Buffalo has absolutely owned Kansas City during the regular season. In the playoffs, it's been a completely different story. So I was impressed by Buffalo. The most impressive thing about Buffalo again, defensively, that was where you said to yourself, if they can play defense like this is a team that can win a Super Bowl. The defense they have been playing throughout the course of the season, this was they would not forget about winning a Super Bowl. They would not even reach the AFC Championship. So if they can play defense to this level moving forward, they definitely have the. We all know what they can do offensively, but this was a more of a statement game from a defensive standpoint, and more importantly than beating Kansas City, it was more important for them to get their defense back um, just back intact. So excellent win for Buffalo. Kansas City is going to be a dogfight to get into the playoffs. I believe Kansas City will get into the playoffs, but they it's going to be they have a they have a tough schedule. The division is tougher than it's ever been. There's no fear factor with Kansas City. Those teams are not afraid of Kansas City anymore. That mystique has kind of been knocked off. Now Kansas City is still dangerous. If they do get into the playoffs, certainly you don't want to face. I would not want to play Kansas City if I'm a top if I'm a second seed, second or third seed, second through fourth seed. I would not want to see Kansas City in the first round of a wild card weekend. It seems like Kansas City is going to be have to win 3 games on the road this year to get to the Super Bowl. But I believe that they will get to the playoffs. The road is going to be tougher. And listen, they've done it before. They've done it a couple of years ago where they won three, won two road playoff games, including the AFC Championship in Baltimore, and won the Super Bowl. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. But I think that this will be the toughest road that they've had to get through this year because frankly the AFC has gotten better. We'll talk more about that later on in the podcast, but the AFC has gotten stronger over the course of this season. Around the league, a couple of games that stood out. Um, Great defensive football game with Denver and Houston. These are probably the two best defenses in the league. Two of the best defenses in the league that came down to a couple plays here. Bo Nix does what he does. He can struggle through for the first 3 quarters and then find a way to make enough plays in the fourth quarter. Denver continues to win these close games and they win a very tough game, 18-15. Houston has a big time defense. That is a that they defensively Houston could play with anybody. Unfortunately for them, they lost their quarterback. Stroud got knocked out with a concussion. He'll be out this week. Denver keeps rolling. Denver again. I I'm listen. I think Denver is very good. I don't think Denver. Do I think Denver can get to a Super Bowl this year? I'm being as the weeks go by. I'm more and more impressed with how Denver is winning games. They can win the close games. Their quarterback is not going to make mistakes. Knicks will not make mistakes. They can run the ball. They can play defense with anybody. They can get to the quarterback. Um, I'm getting closer to being sold on Denver. To be honest with you, I've been very impressed with them over the past couple of weeks. That was a excellent win, big time win against a very good defensive team in terms of the Houston Texans. One of the more impressive wins of the week had to be what Minnesota came in and did to Detroit, 27-24. Now, let's be honest. Detroit played a very sloppy game. Um, they had a number of penalties. They did not play a clean football game by any stretch of the imagination. But Minnesota, and listen, you can say what you want about JJ McCarthy. I'm actually a JJ McCarthy fan. He comes off to me as a guy as just is one of those intangible guys. The stats may not be ridiculous. Stats like he's not a stats guy. I think he comes off as just being a winner. I think he's going to make enough plays. What I've seen this year is that he's going to make enough plays to help his team win. You look at the numbers: 14 25, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Was sacked 5 times, so they got to him. Um, Also had 1 rushing touchdown, so 3 touchdowns, 1 interception in essence. But he makes enough. What he does is he makes enough plays, and what I like about him, what you have to pay attention to is his teammates love him. So that's something that you like. Justin Jefferson, all his teammates love him. So from that standpoint, I've been impressed with JJ McCarthy over the course of this year. This really is his first. In essence, he's a rookie. Like in essence, he this is his rookie season, and again needs to stay on the field. We know that he's had some injury issues, but when he's been on the field, the last couple times he's been on the field, I would say that he's definitely been a difference maker for that team. Again, Detroit was very sloppy in this game with the turnovers, with the penalties. Like Detroit just did some just played terrible football in this game. Uh, they had they had 10 penalties for 76 yards. And the bottom line with Detroit is if you contain the running game, they are not the same football team. Minnesota held them to 65 yards rushing. It's never a good sign for Minnesota. It's never a good sign for Detroit when they have more rushes, when they have more passes than runs. 37 passes, 20 runs. That's not the recipe for Detroit. Like that's not you're not winning a game. And Jared Goff didn't play poorly. 25 37, 284. A quarterback rating of 108. Played. I mean, got sacked, got knocked around, but give Minnesota's defense a lot of credit for shutting down the run. It's a big time win for Minnesota, and that this division is shaping up to be this division, the NFL NFC North, is going to end up going down to the wire with what transpired this week. Um, with what's transpired this week in the division with Detroit and Green Bay losing, and with Detroit and Green Bay losing. And speaking of Green Bay has to be, they fall to Carolina 16-13. Green Bay has to be the most perplexing team in the NFL. Like there's no way. Now Green Bay, first of all, an absolute inexcusable loss to the Carolina Panthers. I know Carolina's improved. I get it. But Green Bay really has not played. Green Bay has one quality win this year, and that was the opening week against Detroit. Well, I'll get on the road against Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh has played relatively well the past couple weeks. So I will give them 2 wins on the road against Pittsburgh and at home against Detroit in week one. Outside of that, they have not played good football. Even when they've won games like Cincinnati, they've struggled to win at times. Games they had to like struggle to win in a couple, at least 3 or 4 games where you shook your head and were not impressed with even with them in victory. And again, I don't get why Green Bay is like this. They have all the talent in the world, top to bottom. There's been some talk that Matt LaFleur is possibly holding back Jordan Love. That it should be more of Jordan Love's offense per se. Well, and that Jordan now looking at Jordan Love has played well this year, but LaFleur does want to run the football. It seems like Green Bay is kind of like a man without a country. They really, from an offensive standpoint, don't seem to know what they want to do. They're defensively, Green Bay is fine. They're a legit top 10 defense. They even in their losses, they've only given up 166 points over the course of the season. So Green Bay defensively has played well. That's not the problem. Their defense is not the problem. As a matter of fact, in terms of points per game, Green Bay ranks they're top 10 defense in terms of points per game. They're giving up about 20 points a game, about 20 points a game. So they're legit top 10 defense from that standpoint. Um, and overall in terms of yards, they are fifth. They're like fifth in total defense in terms of yards. Defense has not been a problem. The problem has been offensively. They should be scoring a lot more points offensively. Like offensively, this team should be scoring close to 30 points a game, and they have been extremely inconsistent offensively to a point. Like Green Bay's only they're averaging about 25 points a game. They should be close to, like I said, they should be close to 30 points a game offensively with the weapons that they have, with the running game that they have, with the receivers that they have. Um, I don't know what Matt LaFleur. It seems the people in Green Bay seem to be down on the floor right now as far as the play calling, as far as a lack of an identity for offensively, and it's going to get harder because they lost to me their best outside Jordan Love in terms of skill position player. They lost their best player offensively in Tucker Kraft. Kraft is developed to one of the better tight ends in the league. He is a great blocker. He is their go-to guy when they need a first down. That guy's developed into a big time player. That is, torn. He goes out with a torn ACL, MCL, done for the season. That's a huge loss for Green Bay. That's a big time. That is a absolute big time loss. So again, it's not going to be any. It's not going to be easier. They're a team that I'm not saying that it's time for LaFleur to go. His record is too gaudy. He has a great record. So you're not, and I still think LaFleur is a very good coach, but the pressure is on because they're starting to get annoyed. This team has played over the course of the season. Certainly, after the first couple of weeks, they look like a Super Bowl contender, but they barely look like a playoff team right now. And again, they're still in a position where they're still the division leader. They are trending downward, and that division is not. I'm telling you, that division is rough. That division is not going to get any easier moving forward. Everybody in that division has a winning record. Um, and you look at that division right now. Detroit and Chicago are only a half game behind Green Bay, and Minnesota's only a game and a half behind Green Bay because of that tie Green Bay had against the Cowboys a few weeks back. So you look at so a couple things you had to when you look at the standings right now. Things have gotten very interesting in the AFC, in the NFC, in the AFC in particular. You have a situation where Kansas City right now is a half game out behind Jacksonville. They're in eighth right now. Telling you the team to keep your eye on. Keep your eye on the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are only 2 games behind Pittsburgh. The Ravens are getting hot. The Ravens, I shouldn't say getting hot, but the Ravens, they got their quarterback got back. They looking at their schedule moving forward. They control their own destiny as far as that division goes. Their schedule moving forward. They took out the Dolphins last week. At Minnesota will not be easy. At Cleveland, they host the Jets, they host the Bengals, they host the Steelers. They will have 4 games in a row, 3 of them at home against the Browns, Jets, Bengals, and Steelers. And then they go to Cincinnati, host New England, end with they end the season at Green Bay and at Pittsburgh. The division probably will come down to that last Pittsburgh game. But that schedule all of a sudden has softened is going to soften up. Minus the Minnesota game, they're going to start to get a lot of home games. Um, so they're the team to watch in the AFC in regards to a team that can really make a run if Lamar Jackson can stay on the field, of course. So they're a team certainly to watch in the AFC. Um, the AFC West is going to be a dogfight down to the end between of course Kansas City, the Chargers, and and Denver. In regards to the NFC, the NFC, I don't think you're making the playoffs in the NFC with less than 10 wins. I think the minimum you have to make the playoffs in the NFC is going to be 10 wins. Detroit right now, Chicago and Carolina are both out, and they both have 5 wins apiece. So they're both on the outs right now. You look at the top of the NFC, you have 6 teams. You have 5 teams with 2 or less losses. You have 5 teams with 6 or more wins. So it's very crowded at the top. Of course, a couple teams, a team that's going, 2 teams that are trending going up are Seattle and the Rams. Seattle and the Rams right now playing as well as any 2 teams in the NFL right now. That division race is going to be a dogfight as well in the NFC, the NFC West, because you have a situation where you're gonna have some great divisional races down the stretch. I mean, you think about across the NFL in general, New England Buffalo fighting for the AFC East, um, the AFC North was because Baltimore is coming. The AFC West with those 3 teams minus the Raiders. The NFC East is done. That's all Philadelphia. Everybody else is under 500 except Philadelphia. The NFC North, and then looking at the NFC, even the NFC South. I mean, Carolina's only a game and a half, but you figure that Tampa Bay is in control of that division. But you look at the NFC West. Seattle and the Rams are both 6-2. San Francisco is 6-3. Cardinals. Listen, I watched that game closely on Monday night. The Cardinals are very talented. The Cardinals, matter of fact, have outscored their opponents by 9. They still have they are +9 in the point differential, despite being 2 games under 500. They will have a say, and I'm not saying the Cardinals will make the playoffs. They're not. As Jacoby Brissett will be their quarterback for at least another month, as Kyler Murray has been put on IR, and that was not. Trust me, that's not a coincidence. That was a decision that, like, hey, this guy's playing better. You need to sit your ass down for a month. So he'll have plenty time to play video games for a month. That's what that was. But the NFC West, the Cardinals are a very talented team. Um, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been unlocked. It seems they can run the football. They have speed on their defensively. That team is going to have a say in determining who wins the division between Seattle, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. And I believe it's going to come down to Seattle with Seattle and the Rams. The Rams. Matthew Stafford has firmly entrenched his way into the MVP race. 21 touchdowns, 2 interceptions right now. So he absolutely has to be considered an MVP candidate. Sam Darnold, and I watched this firsthand as a Commanders fan, and I'll get to them in a second. Put on a clinic at FedEx Field, excuse me, Northwest Stadium. An absolute clinic. You're talking 16 of 16, 252 yards in the first half. He has proven that last year was not a fluke. He is a very good quarterback, legitimately a top 12 quarterback. Now, again, I'm not quite there in terms of winning a Super Bowl. Can you win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold? Not quite there. But Seattle has an excellent running game. That defense is real. They have weapons in terms of their receivers. Darnold, again, playing at a Pro Bowl, All Pro level right now. Uh, Seattle is very talented. Um, on both sides of the ball. They really have no weaknesses. The offensive line is not great, but offensively, defensively, they are top 10 in both offense and defense. They might even be top 5. They're definitely top 5 in terms of points per game and points allowed. They have right now the second best point differential in all of football behind the Rams by 1 point. The Rams are plus 82. Seattle is plus 81 in point differential. So those 2 teams right now I think the division will come down to those 2 teams with all due respect to San Francisco. They meet again. The Rams of Seattle meets on a Monday night on a Monday. Is it? December 18th. That's actually been on a prime game. So that might be a Thursday night game. That actually might be. I think that's a Thursday game. What is the December 18th? Is Yes, that's a Thursday game. So that's a Thursday game. They will meet on a Thursday. That game probably more than likely could decide the division, but they end the season. Seattle ends the season at San Francisco, so it's probably going to come down to that last game. But that Seattle that NFC, these divisional races down the stretch are going to be exciting. Like I said, with the exception of the NFC East, uh, all these divisions are in play, including, and by the way, including the AFC South. Indianapolis got destroyed by Pittsburgh. They're only a game and a half ahead of Jacksonville. Um, and they got when I mean they got their doors blown off by Pittsburgh. They got manhandled by Pittsburgh, 6 turnovers. We will see if that's an aberration or if Pittsburgh figure out something that the rest of the NFL can look to do when it comes to defending their offense. Well, speaking of Indianapolis, they make a trade for Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, of course, the highly talented cornerback of the New York Jets. Indianapolis gets a receiver and 2 first round picks. Now, despite the fact that the Jets have been one of the worst franchises and one of the worst teams in the NFL, Gardner is still playing at a very high level. Quarterbacks are only completing 27% of their passes when they throw in his direction. He Now again, don't look at his interceptions because he doesn't have any interceptions. People don't throw his in his direction. So it's kind of like with Darrell Revis back in the day. Darrell Revis didn't never had high interception numbers because it was Revis Island. People frankly didn't throw in his direction. So he is still a top cornerback in this league. Obviously, that was a weakness for Indianapolis. Now this is the question, and he's only given up this year 10 receptions on 22 targets for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he is still playing at a all pro caliber level. But the problem is he's playing for playing for the Jets, so it's easy for him to get lost playing for that franchise. Now, here's the question that you have to ask yourself when you make a trade like this. Number one, he's only 25 years old. So this is not a case of like the Commanders made a mistake last year and traded for Marshawn Lattimore. Lattimore is absolutely cooked. His best days are behind him. And this guy Lattimore was never even came close to the type of player that Sauce Gardner is. Sauce Gardner came in the NFL, was all pro his first 2 years. You get him at again, does not have a bad contract, even though he signed the extension this offseason. The contract is actually not bad when you look at it and break it down. So it's actually a good team friendly contract. 25 years old, something to prove. Is going to be playing meaningful games. So they're going to get the best of Sauce Gardner. Trust me. But the Sauce Gardner puts you, is Indianapolis a Sauce Gardner away from going to the Super Bowl? Probably not. Probably not. So, it's a trade that giving up 2 first round picks is a lot. Now, if I had a franchise quarterback and again I thought that this guy was going to put me in the Super Bowl, yes, I would do it. I don't I You can't tell me that Indianapolis believes that Daniel Jones is their quarterback of the future. If they do, then they're stupid. Like you can't tell me that they actually believe that. But this tells me that they feel like they're closer than they probably are. So we'll see how it pays off. Again, I think Gardner can go out there and play great, and they still get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, or still get knocked out in the divisional round if they do get home field advantage. Because I'm still not sold on Daniel Jones being a guy that you can win multiple playoff games with, let alone go to the Super Bowl with in the postseason. As far as the Commanders goes, obviously they got their doors blown off by a Seattle team that's playing as well as any team in the NFC, if not as well as any team in the league. Um, But of course, the big news that came out of that game was the dislocated elbow that was sustained by Jaden Daniels. This is the third injury that Jaden Daniels has sustained over the course of this season. All those injuries have came off scrambles. Okay. Dan Quinn admitted as much to the fact that he shouldn't have been in the game. That's not even the story here. I'm just telling you right now, that's not even the story. Moving forward, if you want to keep this guy has a chance to be one of the faces of the NFL, one of the more talented quarterbacks in the NFL, without question. They have to get him to change his style of how he plays. He can't play like he can't move like he's Cam Newton. He's not 6'5", 240, 45, 250 pounds. He's 6'4", 6'5", about 200 pounds. He takes too many hits. He, unlike Cam Newton in the beginning, he has the ability to beat you from the pocket. He has that ability, even in his second year. He can read a defense, can beat you from the pocket. Now, unfortunately, this year they haven't been healthy with the receivers, so maybe he's felt the need to put that he has to put more pressure on himself by running the ball because guys, frankly, are not getting open, especially when McLaurin and Debo and those guys have missed games. Noah Brown hasn't played all season. That injuries are a part of the NFL. You have to, again, moving forward, they have to tailor their offense to keeping him on the field. And if that means sacrificing his ability to run the football with designed runs, then so be it. So be it. Patrick Mahomes does not quarterback sneak anymore. You want to know why? He did one quarterback sneak, got injured, and Andy Reid was like, "Fuck that. We'll improve the offensive line. We'll get a big back. We'll use a full. We'll go full back. Whatever. We're not running you in. We're not putting you at risk by with a quarterback sneak. By a quarterback sneaking. He saw that one time. That's all it took. Patrick Mahomes, you will not. I don't think Patrick Mahomes will ever do a quarterback sneak again. Head first. That's just not going to happen. So they have to protect him in that. They have to protect him, Jaden Daniels, from himself. Um, and the how they play offense has to be tailored again. They're at their best when they're running the football, but he runs too much. He's taking too many hits this year. Um, and I think the offensive line protection has not been. I don't think this is a case of him holding the ball, taking hits in the pocket. These hits have been taken. These injuries have occurred through with him running on runs. All three of these injuries have occurred with him running the football. So if you want him to stay upfloat, stay upright, and not end up like RG3, not end up like Andrew Luck, and what have you, they have to absolutely convince him that you have to adjust, completely change your style of play to you have to be a pass first, run second quarterback. And we're not even like if they have to cut back on the design runs, then so be it. He has to be because he has to be on the field. Best of the 21st century, the Los Angeles Dodgers, of course, are world champions. Played one of the more exciting World Series that we've seen this century. A friend of mine said it was the best series he saw that he can remember, even going back to the 2001 World Series. That was the Yankees when the Yankees got taken out by the Diamondbacks. Now, when he first said that, I just thought that he's a Red Sox fan, and I thought that this was just a anti-Yankee, a chance to throw salt on the Yankee wound, so to speak. But when I really went back and did the research on it and thought about it, I'm thinking that he's probably right because if you remember that series, right, Arizona was down 3 games to 2, and basically Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson took over the series. You get the dramatic Game 7 win where you get the hit off Rivera, and I believe that was Luis Gonzalez. Yeah, Luis Gonzalez gets the hit off Mariano Rivera, um, and they win it off the greatest closer of all time. Remember the Mr. November with Derek Jeter and those three. Remember, they Yankees won three straight games. Yankees were down 2-0 and then won three straight games at Yankee Stadium, and then Arizona won the last two games. So that was a wild World Series. So this one was right there with it. It was so much that was going on in this series. Um, the Dodgers only hit like 204 in this series. They were outscored in this series and still found a way to win. Um, the Dodgers, without question, are the model franchise in baseball. Their third title in 6 years. I think we had gotten to a point with the Dodgers that we started taking their winning for granted. This is a team that's been in the postseason every year. The last time the Dodgers missed the postseason was 2012. So this is 13 straight years in the postseason, three championships. And listen, you want to say that they spend the most money? Okay, and there have been years where they have, but there also have been years where the Mets outspent them. There have been years where other teams have outspent them. So it's just not about the money. Because if it was just about the money, then the Mets would have a couple championships because they've spent ridiculous amounts of money, and it hasn't that has not translated to postseason success or basically any success at all in terms of the Mets from that standpoint. So Dodgers win because they have a culture. They have a culture that will spend money. They have a culture that will produce the best farm system in baseball. They have the best farm system in baseball. Um, they have a culture that knows when to let go players. Zach Greinke, Corey, Bellinger, and a couple other players that they've let go at the right time, and they are now drawing any top Japanese player is coming to LA. It's just pure and simple. Like if you are that level of player, you are going to come to LA. Um, and living in Los Angeles is an advantage. Not just with the money, the lifestyle, the market. Be able to market yourself, marketing and branding. So they have a combination of a number of things that no other organization can frankly compete with. They have it all. I get I get the money. I get great player development. I get the commercials. I get the LA weather and lifestyle. I get to be in a place where I can actually walk around and not get mobbed. Like being a star in LA is not like being a star anywhere else. You just if you're a star in LA, people you don't get rushed like that. People just keep it moving because number one, they're used to seeing stars. And in LA, you can kind of go about your business. Like LA is very uh has a number of like segregated communities from that standpoint. The stars have their own places where they live, gated communities and what have you. So again, you can move how you're a big fish in a big pond. Like there's certain places that Shotani couldn't like certain places that Shotani just couldn't step outside his door without getting mobbed. That's not how it is in LA. So they again, if I'm a big time baseball player, a big time free agent, I want to be in LA. I want to live in LA. I have every opportunity of success. I'm going to be in the playoffs every year. I'm going to be on television a lot. I'm going to get they just, refurbished they have new facilities that they just got. They just refurbished Dodger Stadium. So they have it all. And again, I don't see this stopping anytime soon. I like in the next so we're in 2025. I would say in the next 5 years, in the next 4 years, I would say they probably get at least they might get probably another two championships the next 4 years. because I just don't see again. They're going to always get the top free agents, and spending is not. They have no they have a unlimited list spending tree to where they can afford any star and they can afford depth. They have talent and they have depth. But frankly, even with all that being said, they play the game the right way. They can beat you 3-1, 2-1. They can also win 11-10. They can also win a slugfest. So salute to the Los Angeles Dodgers, a well-deserved championship, one of the more exciting world game sevens that you will ever see, especially the games 6 and 7. To be honest with you, Clayton Kershaw ends his Hall of Fame career with the championship. I was looking at the Kershaw stats. Like now, Kershaw has been a mediocre postseason pitcher, but his regular season numbers. I mean, this guy has over 200 wins and under 100 losses, which is very rare. You're talking about a career 2.53 ERA. Again, this guy for a regular season was one of the all-time greats without questioning. Who won the week? The Seattle Seahawks win the week. They are tied with the Rams for first place. They clearly are trending in the right direction, playing as well as any team in football. They are a complete football team. Um, they will be a problem moving forward and in the postseason. Now again, Darnold, can you win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold? That remains to be seen. But they are a well coached team. They are physical, and more importantly, they can win on the road. They actually have they played their best football. It's a strange thing with them that they've been so dominant over the last 2 years. They've been dominant on the road and have been average at home. It's very strange. But Seattle absolutely wins the week. The college football playoff rankings came out last night. Really no major surprises. Um, to be honest with you, a couple of people were complaining on the broadcast about Texas A&M having should have been could have been number one over Ohio State, and it's like, okay, I mean, or Indiana could have been number one over Ohio State. Ohio State is still the defending champion. Ohio State still has beaten what Texas, Washington, and Illinois. Um, Two of those games on the road at Illinois. They won at Illinois and they won at Washington. And Washington's playing good football right now. So I had no problem with Ohio State being number one, even though there is I do have to give them champions respect. Like they have Ohio State has played from start to finish. They have been the most consistent team in college football. Now you could say Indiana and Texas A&M have individual wins that are more impressive. Like Texas A&M went to Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame and absolutely destroyed LSU in LSU. So those are two uh, great wins on the road. And I always lean towards road wins carrying more weight. Indiana, of course, has one of the more impressive wins of the season at Oregon, and they handled Oregon. But bottom line is Ohio State is still the champion. Now, the committee was very consistent with uh, rewarding head to head. You see Alabama 4, Georgia 5. Alabama, of course, beat Georgia by 3 points in Georgia. You see Georgia 5, Ole Miss 6. Georgia, of course, beat Ole Miss a couple weeks ago. Um, Now, the only way it didn't apply to Miami Notre Dame, be frankly, because Miami has just fallen off the cliff and they're not even nowhere even near the playoffs right now. They are ranked. They've fallen to 18th. The ACC right now is going to be hard pressed to get more than one team. Miami lost, Georgia Tech lost. Right now, the only team that's in the playoffs right now for the ACC would be Virginia. Georgia Tech has the opportunity because they still have to play at Georgia. They still have Georgia on Black Friday. So Georgia Tech has the opportunity. Miami is not all the way done, but they are certainly they're gonna need some help and they're on life support. They are they are making a trend, have made a habit under Mario Cristobal, falling apart in November. Big game this week with BYU. BYU plays, I believe, Texas Tech this weekend. Yes, so that'll be a big time game at noon. BYU and Texas Tech. You also have that'll be like the hot that'll be the biggest game of the week. Of the weekend as far as ranked teams goes. Texas A&M and Missouri would be interesting. Um, yeah, LSU, Alabama obviously has lost its luster considering that LSU has been in the tank. And it has been in the tank, but still a lot of season to be played. With these rankings, obviously will change. Listen, to me, I think the Big Ten has a chance to get 4 teams in. Three teams, minimum 3 teams are coming out of the SEC. I think that Alabama, Georgia are absolute locks, and I think either Texas or Texas A&M will get in as well. I think so. I think 3 teams, 3 teams will. I think 3 teams are coming out of the SEC. Possibly 4 teams can possibly come out of the Big Ten, especially if Michigan can upset Ohio State, which they've over the last 3 or 4 years they've owned Ohio State. But I definitely think minimum 3 teams are coming out of the SEC, maybe four, the possibility of 4. But I think 3 teams. I think again Alabama and Georgia are locks. Um, and Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia are locks, and probably I would say probably Texas A&M. Looking at their schedule, Texas A&M probably is a lock as well. So Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M probably will get in. The question is, can a 4th team break through, like Vanderbilt, Texas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Texas, or Oklahoma? Those teams have one of those teams still have the opportunity to break through. So still a lot to be decided in regards to the college football rankings and playoffs. We'll see what happens. Before I let you go, I want to spend a couple minutes on Ja Morant. He of course was suspended last week by the organization. Conduct detrimental to the team. Apparently, he got into. First of all, he in a game against the Lakers, he flat out just quit in the second half of the game as the Lakers pulled away and defeated Memphis. I believe the game was in Memphis. Yeah, the game was in Memphis. I want to say it was last Friday. I believe that game was last Friday. So he quit on the team. Apparently, was called out by the coach and didn't take too kindly with those actions of the coach calling him out and holding him accountable. He gets into the press conference and basically gave one word answers or gave an answer, go talk to the coaching staff. Everything was about the coaching staff. So that is a toxic situation right now. And the bottom line to me is, you know, I mean, his behavior is so bad that even I've heard even players calling him out on national television. Like Blake Griffin on that telecast on Peacock called him out on Friday. I've heard other players call him out. Uh, Matt Barnes called him out on a podcast this week. So that's how bad his behavior is. Because remember, we live in an age where a lot of these players don't are a lot of these players will not criticize one another, no matter how wrong the player is. They will not. They will find a way to defend the player. But you actually have ex players ex players calling him out publicly, calling him out, or on their platforms or on the television calling him out. So that's how bad the behavior has gotten. And you look at his numbers over the course of the last couple of years, his numbers have declined each year. Right now, through 7 games, he's averaging a career low in points. He's averaging a career low in terms of shooting percentage. He's only shooting 39%. He's only shooting almost barely 14% from the 3-point line, only 50% from 2-point range. So his numbers are down across the board. Um, I don't know who will like again. There's always one team that will take a risk, but I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't touch Ja Morant if I wouldn't trade for Ja Morant. No way, no how. You have a guy who forget about the non-leadership characteristics that he has. You have a guy whose his game has slipped. He still hasn't improved his jump shot. He doesn't defend. Um, he's not any bottom line. He's not getting to the rim like he used to. So that the athleticism is not what it used to be. So you have a guy again at the age of 26 when he's supposed to be in his prime who actually has been in a slow decline in terms of his. Let's put all the off the court stuff aside for a second. On the court, he's been in decline on the court, and he's making a boatload of money. So again, I he is not an attractive trade piece. Now, if I'm Memphis and the Atlanta Hawks were willing to trade him straight up for like Trey Young, of course I would make that trade in a heartbeat. If I'm if I'm Memphis, I wouldn't make that trade if I'm Atlanta. Like, I wouldn't like. So he's gonna make this year. He's making about 40 million. Next year he'll be at 42 million, and in 27, 28 he'll be at 44 million. So he's still owed even after this year. He's still owed about $86 million. Again, I went to especially in a league where there are a number of point guards, a number of point guards. It's easy to find a point guard right now in the NBA. I would not touch Ja Morant. He absolutely is damaged goods as far as I'm concerned right now. Um, and you have a guy who just seemed like he just hasn't recovered from all that stuff that happened off the court. And again, for a team to suspend a player who once was a star player, that tells you that tells you that they've had enough, that they're done. They absolutely had enough. That they're backing the coach and they are holding him accountable. Um, like I said, this thing they could again. The people that defend him, especially from Memphis, the fans or the people that cover the team, they're on that whole, well, he means so much to Memphis and this, that, and the third. Those fans will turn on you if the team stops winning and if the production slips enough, they don't give a shit about him being from Memphis anymore. That will change very quickly. Trust me. So I think if I'm the Grizzlies, I would do everything I would be doing behind the scenes to move on to move on from him and to really rebuild this franchise. And I'm not saying Jaren Jackson Jr. should be the guy you rebuild around, but I'm doing whatever I can do to get this guy off the team right here, right now. So we'll see what happens with that over the course of the season. I'm sure this is not the last that you will hear about this particular situation. As a coach, again, this new coach is trying to find his way and trying to really have a situation where he's respected in the locker room. You can't have a guy just blatantly quit on you. I don't care who he is, and you not hold him accountable. If the coach doesn't hold him accountable, then the coach is like the coach in essence is cutting his own nuts off by not by and he will have no respect in that locker room. So I agree 1,000% with the coach having to hold him accountable to garner respect within that locker room. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your week. So long.